good morning, and welcome to another one of our podcasts. It is a Thursday. I do hope that your week has been successful. I hope that you've been spending some time to pay attention to your mental health. And that's the watchword for us here on the podcast. Right here, this is the XY Spark podcast. This is the podcast for men, where we seek to create a safe space to normalize conversations about men's mental health. Why? Because we know that mental health is not a myth. And every man, everywhere, wherever you are, we want you to recognize that this is how we're going to break cycles. This is how we're going to save lives. This is how we're going to change the landscape of our existence because mental health is not a myth and we are not immune. So every weekday morning, we are live here on the podcast. So for those who may be here for the first time, we just want to let you know that we are live on TikTok. Welcome to all our live TikTok viewers. We appreciate you. Please type in the chat where you're joining us live from. We're live on YouTube. We're also live on the podcast, and we do offer live life coaching calls in the moment. So if there is something that's going on with you right now and you would like to join in our conversation, please just feel free to do so and let's chat. We are continuing our conversation today. Our theme is Transformation Thursday, and we'll continue to discuss the topic about self awareness and why self awareness is valuable and why it is important for us as men to pay attention to. Because it is in paying attention to our self awareness that we are going to evolve and grow in becoming the best version of ourselves. This morning, we just want to introduce you guys to one of our merches. For those who might be interested, you can send us a chat on the back end. This is our merch. This is one of our or this is one of our themes. This is a mantra that I live my life by. Personal development is not an event, it's a lifestyle. So if you'd like to grab, a merch from XY Spark, please just, type in the chat and we'll be more than happy to send that out your way. So that's it for that piece. Guys, I also wanted to send you guys a lot of appreciation for those who have subscribed or new followers. We've had some new followers over the weeks or so here on TikTok. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. On YouTube, those new subs, thank you. Those who have been downloading our episodes on the Podbean app, thank you. But we also wanted you guys to know that you can find our episodes on Spotify. You can find our episodes on Podbean, on Amazon, on iHeart. You can find it there on most of those podcast platforms. And we encourage you to go back and listen to some of these episodes. Please continue to download these episodes. Our goal is to get to 5,000 subscribers before the middle of 2025. So, guys, I want you to just keep those comments, keep those calls coming in. Those who have been calling us, those who have been messaging us, those who have been emailing us. Thank you, guys, for trusting us to work on your goals. We appreciate you. So, Transformation Thursday, we continue our conversation about self awareness. And this morning, we want to give you some tips about how you can continue the practice of self awareness. Some questions that you can ask that's going to help you to build or to ignite that self awareness. The first question that I want to encourage you that you should consider asking yourself is, what are my strengths? What are my strengths? What am I good at? What are you good at? Why is this question an important question? Because sometimes we might have grown up in an environment where we hear a lot of negatives. We might have grown up in an environment where we weren't validated as much. We might have grown up in an environment where it's a all or not at all. You know that home where you may come home with 95% and your dad or your mom says to you, "Where's the other five?" Not great job. I'm happy that you passed your course. No, that's a very good mark. And let's keep the momentum going. But okay, what happened to the other five? So sometimes we're raised in those environments where we're not used to being validated. We're not used to being, commented, or we're not used to being coached or encouraged, which is the word I'm looking for. And so we grew up not believing that we're good at anything. But we have to start by asking this question: what are my strengths? And men, this is something that we believe we shouldn't ask, some of us, or we just don't know. A funny thing is sometimes, I may say to men, okay, so who are you? And all of a sudden, it's almost as if he gets caught off guard. Who am I? What do you mean, who am I? I'm a man. No, I'm asking about who are you when you get down to it. Who are you? What are your strengths? Okay, what are you good at? Are you a people person? Are you a kind person? Are you a compassionate person? Are you a selfless person? All right. Are you someone who's dependable? Are you someone that's reliable? Are you someone who is willing to go the extra mile all the time? What are your strengths? What makes you authentically you? So, what are your strengths is one of the questions that I would encourage you to ask. The next question that I would want you to look at is, what are my short and long term goals? Do you have any goals? Or are you just living your life on the spur of the moment? Having goals and setting goals, it gives you something to look forward to. It gives you something to aspire for. Having goals is an important part of practicing self-awareness. Having goals is something that can help you to build your self-confidence. Why? Because you're able to look back at it and say, hey, I did it. You're like, woohoo, I can't believe it. I got there, I set this goal, I worked on it, and now look at me, right? That's very important, guys. So set some goals, set small goals, set tiny goals, set big goals, set weekly goals, set monthly goals, set, a 5 year plan or a 10-year plan. But it's important to set goals and hold yourself accountable to following through with those goals that you set. Remember, goal setting, guys, is about you. Hey, I see my niece Roxanne. Hey, good morning. I see Roxanne joining us live. Roxanne is my niece. She's in Jamaica. So to all our Jamaica, those in Jamaica who are viewing live, shout out to you. If you're somewhere in the Caribbean and another Caribbean island, St. Lucia, Trinidad, shout out to you. If you're in Europe, shout out to you. Just type in the chat we are joining us from. We'd really like to acknowledge your presence. All right. So we're talking about goal setting as a part of self-awareness and setting goals. And one of those questions is a valuable thing for you to ask as it relates to setting goals. What are my short versus long-term goals? All right. The third question that I would like to encourage you to ask, if you are really, seeking to build your self-awareness, is, who matters most to me? Who matters most to me? All right. And why is it important to ask that question? When we have persons or people in our life on whom who depend on us, and who we love and whose presence we value, people who we appreciate them being a part of our lives. Okay, for example, who matters most to me? Being a dad, I would say my 4 kids matter to me. All right, my partner, she matters to me. All right, being a psychotherapist, all the men, all the families, all the couples, all the persons that I work with, they matter. It's just that each person may be at a different space, but these things matter to me. You, yes, believe it or not, you, and it's because of you why I'm here every morning 5:30, because you matter. You're probably wondering why, how did you end up in this category? But you matter, right? Why? Because as a man, why you matter is, as a life coach and psychotherapist, you matter to me because I know that resources and support for men is very limited. So it's because you matter why I come here every weekday morning at 5:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time to create a safe space for us as men to continue to talk about our mental health, right? Mental health does not discriminate, right? And it doesn't matter where on the planet you are located, your mental health can be impacted. But if we pay attention to it, if we work on it, if we seek to create a safe space to normalize conversations about it, then guys, we will be in a better place as men. So that is the third question. And yes, mental health is a real thing. And the funny piece about it is that so many of us as men, we don't want to even acknowledge that it exists. That's the truth and that's the reality. Many of us as men, we hate to think about mental health because some of us as men, when we think about mental health, we think it's only crazy people who talk about this, right? We don't recognize that, hey, because mental health is not a myth, and because as men, we have a responsibility to work on being the best version of ourselves, we have to pay attention to our mental health. So that was the third question. The fourth question that as men we should be asking as it relates to knowing ourselves and practicing better mental awareness is, what am I ashamed of? What am I ashamed of? What are you ashamed of? And oftentimes, many of us, most of us, a great portion, we do have things that we're ashamed of. What are you ashamed of? Is there something that you did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago? Is there something that you did 5 years ago? Is there something you did yesterday that you're ashamed of? Are there some decisions that you made that you're not proud of those decisions? What are you ashamed of? And how has that shame been impacting the way you live your life and the way you make your decisions? So what are you ashamed of as a person? And how do we as men, when we identify that, you see, it's not just asking the question, but it's also identifying the thing that we're ashamed of and do the work that's going to help us to heal from the shame. So when it comes to your mental health and mental health awareness, it's great to ask this question. But then when you identify the thing that you're ashamed of, then you need to invest in doing the work. Doing the work, right? Connect with a life coach, connect with a counselor, connect with, go to some group. Whatever it is that you're ashamed of, you can work on it, right? I've done things in my life that I'm ashamed of, and I've had to do the work, and it's painful work. It's hard work to do, right? It's really confronting some of those things. It's really going back and reevaluating the lens that you're looking at yourself through. Oftentimes, as men, there are things that we're ashamed of or things that we're unwilling to acknowledge because it makes us feel like failures. As men, it makes us feel like, I should have done better, that shouldn't happen to me. But the irony of that is guys, is as we walk on this journey, this path of life, there are some things that's going to happen to us that we did not sign up for. What we've got to learn how to do is to work on healing from that pain, the pain of our past. Remember, guys, that every single day we have to make that decision, right? To not live our past in our present reality. Right? And that's what shame does. Shame sometimes keeps us hooked on living our past in our present reality. And what I'm saying to you is this, is we have to ask this question: what am I ashamed of and why? Asking those questions, guys, helps to create a new awareness. Psychologically, it helps us to dive deeper into. the main cause of what it is that is influencing our lives in a negative way. So that's the fourth question that we need to ask. The fifth question that's important for us to ask as it relates to our growth and our personal development, guys, is, what do I like to do for fun? And I want to expand on that, which is, what are some healthy things that I like to do for fun? I realize, guys, that we're living in an era now where oftentimes when people say life is boring, they need to have some excitement in your life. And a lot of men, they associate fun with drinking themselves to a pulp. All right. Okay. Have a great day. That's one of my life persons. Have a great day. Good to see you, Roxanne. Love to you, my niece. Keep safe. Keep safe. All right. Absolutely. You're welcome to join anytime. All right. So yes, I got a little bit distracted there, but I have to acknowledge, my friend, my niece out there in Jamaica. You stay safe on the roads, and say hello to my little cousins and stuff too. All right. Okay. Peace to you. Now, let's continue, guys, to talk now as it relates to what I was saying. Fun. A lot of times, as men, we associate having fun with doing unhealthy things, right? And that is what's hurting us. So we are self destructing, right? We are self harming. We're putting ourselves in places and spaces where we are hurting ourselves because we believe that having fun has to be risky. It has to, be drinking ourselves to a pulp. It has to be, smoking a lot of, marijuana. And someone may say marijuana is legal. I get you. It has medicinal purposes. I hear you too, but it also causes impairment. All right. And if you do your own research, and what I say to you, guys, is do the research. You don't have to listen to me and say, Rolando, you're just hating because you don't smoke. I once did, right? Full disclosure here. I once did. I no longer do it because I've grown to recognize that, hey, how does this bring value to my life? And these are the questions that I want to challenge all the men who are in this space to ask. How will it bring value to your life? Will it make you a better man? Will it make you someone that is more grounded, right? And that's a question that you need to ask. So, what do I like to do for fun? I want to say, what healthy thing can I do for fun? Right? And creating that consciousness helps us now to be connected with ourselves more because we're now starting to be a lot more responsible with how and what we commit to doing for fun. And that's a key piece in self awareness and self growth. And as men, we have got to take the initiative. You see, so often we tend to be distracted by all the quote unquote norms that person say, hey, do this. When you do this, is fun, right? I go shopping for fun. I party hard for fun. I drink hard for fun. All right. I do so many other unhealthy things, and I say, hey, it's fun. But what's the meaning of fun? Is having fun something that you do where when you're done you leave and you don't even recall half of what you did? Is that having fun, or is that putting yourself at risk? Is that hurting your mental well-being? Is that eroding your moral compass? Is that hurting somebody else? And just before I go on to my next point, I just want to pause to acknowledge, we had a really, really unfortunate thing that happened in the United States yesterday. You guys might have not heard about it. An army helicopter collided with a passenger plane, and it was really, really um, destructive. All right. So definitely just want to pause and say, hey, we acknowledge you, and we send our prayers and our love to those families. All right. We send our prayers and our love to those families. Okay. So let's continue now with your conversation. We're talking about men's mental health. And for those who are just joining, you're in tune to the XY Spark podcast. This is the podcast for men, where we seek to normalize conversations about men's mental health. Because we know that mental health is not a myth. And none of us as men are immune. So our goal is to create a safe space where more men can come and talk about the struggles that they're having with their mental health, which is why we also offer live life coaching calls right here in the moment. So if you want to join us live, you're more than welcome. We're live on TikTok right now. Shout out to all my TikTok viewers. We're live on YouTube, and you can also join us on the podcast at xyspark.podbean, Pod for dog, bean, B for Barry, EAN.com. Go there, join us, and let's continue this conversation about men's mental health. So we talked about four pieces, all right, or five questions rather, that is important for us to ask as it relates to our mental health. The next question that I want to throw into it is, what am I grateful for? What are you grateful for? Gratitude. When you listen to some of the gurus, I say, when you listen to a Les Brown, when you listen to a Tony Robbins, when we listen to a Jordan Peterson, when you listen to some of these guys out there in the space, in the virtual space or in the professional space, when I do my own research and capture from a lot of experts, just being grateful, it changes the shape, it changes your state of mind. Yes, guys. So being grateful, grabbing something to be grateful for, practicing gratitude is such a powerful psychological space to be in, because it helps to create a different mindset. And remember, guys, mindset makes a man or breaks a man. So as you create that mindset, as you seek to practice gratitude, it's almost as if you're pouring into your psyche hope, you're pouring into your psyche confidence, you're pouring into your psyche comfortability about, hey, yes, everything is not going the way I would want it to be, but there are still some things that I want to acknowledge and be grateful for. I still want to acknowledge that my kids are healthy. You may have a kid who has a disability. I still want to acknowledge that my kid is alive. You may have a kid who, Rolando, you don't understand. We have had miscarriages. My kid has passed away. What do I have to be grateful for? Right? When, I want to be a father so badly. And all these things that happened. And I could share tons of stories with you about men who have struggled, who have had 5, 6, 7 miscarriages, but they never lost hope, guys. And they are fathers today. I know some of them personally. So, what are you grateful for? Find something to be grateful for, to change the shape of your mind, to change the lens that you're looking at the world through. Right? You see, sometimes, guys, it's because we're not practicing gratitude enough as men why we get stuck in these mazes of negativity, of pessimism, of victim mentality, of why me. It's why sometimes we hate the world, and we are not optimistic, we're not growing, we're not confident, we're not happy. We do unhealthy things, and we harm ourselves and harm our relationships, and our mental health continues to deteriorate. But what I would say is, guys, find at least two things every single day. For the next 30 days, I'm challenging you. Find at least two things every single day for the next 30 days to be grateful for. And I'm going to start right now today to tell you two things that I'm grateful for. Just yesterday, my son, my 11-year-old son, he had a terrible accident. He was at the pool swimming, and he really, he hit his head really hard on the concrete in the pool, right? He made a mistake. And what I'm thankful for is, in spite of the hit, he never had a severe concussion. I took him to the emergency. I came home this morning from the emerge near my community. It was probably around after 11. I was there for about 5 hours, and I'm so grateful that even though we're in Canada, and I can't tell you my community because you may run come here to say you get you in 5 hours at the merger land. That's great. Where are you? Right? But I'll keep that secret from you, my listeners. But he went and he got checked out, and the doctor said, "Hey, he's gonna be okay." So I'm grateful that my son, he's okay. I was checking on him through the night. That protective dad, that worrisome dad, that was me last night. But I'm grateful that he's okay. The second thing that I'm grateful for is that I'm grateful for you guys who come into this space every morning just to join in the conversation, to say hello, right? I see you, Oakley, hello, right? And just to put your comments and just to like some of what we're saying. We appreciate the likes. We appreciate you being so thoughtful in sharing the first part of your morning with us. What about you guys? What are you grateful for? And I want to say to you that spend the next 30 days where you get up every day or before you go to bed at night and just think about two things that you're grateful for. And I'd like you to come back here again on February 28th, because I can't say February 30th, right? I know you're probably listening and saying, wonder what he's going to say. Is he going to say February 30th? No, come back here on February 28th, same time, same place at 5:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, and tell me what have you noticed that you've been doing differently. So practice being grateful every day, at least two things over the next couple of days. Guys, they say time flies when you're having fun. You guys were a great audience. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all the hearts that you poured into this podcast here on TikTok. For all the thumbs up that you poured into this podcast on YouTube. For all the comments that you typed in the chat here on the Podbean app. Guys, we want to continue to encourage you. Let this be your space. This is your space. This is your time. This is the XY Spark podcast. This is the podcast for men, where we seek to normalize conversations about men's mental health. Because we know that men's mental health is not a myth. The struggle is real. But every morning we're here to say, let's seek to normalize those conversations and seek to create safe spaces for more men. So whether you are in Sweden, whether you're in Africa, whether you're in the UK, whether you're in the Caribbean, whether you're in Canada, I don't know where you are, but I'm saying, please guys, let's tell more men to come on into the space. Let's tell our fathers or uncles or brothers or neighbors or coworkers or teammates, hey, let's go listen to XY Spark. Let's join the conversation. Let's talk about our mental health. Guys, let us break the stamina of the stigma right now. But until our next podcast, which is tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. This is your boy, your men's life coach, Rolando. Thank you for joining us here on our podcast. And we just continue to remind you that at XY Spark, we believe that there is a spark in you. We will see you again next time for another episode. Be safe.